Good morning. Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 29th day of January 2024, and things are getting crazy out there, guys. If you've been watching what's going on down at the border in Texas and such, I think this is going to be a real interesting couple of weeks ahead of us, just so you know. So we had our meeting for the Taxpayers Party, the USTPM in Michigan, and it was wonderful. We had about 100 people that showed up at Center Shot. We were packed in there, and I thought it was kind of a pretty charming, actually. It was kind of like what you would expect, the original Patriots in the taverns all packed in there and having a great time. We had a wonderful time, and I want to thank everyone who came, because we had people from across the state that were there with us, and we listened to Dara Leaf talk about the militia and Paul Urban with Referendums for Michigan. It was a lot of fun. We're going to be doing more of these and more events coming up, so keep your eyes open, and we'll all have a good time together. So I want to bring on my guests this morning, and it's Jason Ickes and Jeff Buongiorno, and we're going to say hi, and we're going to talk about the crisis happening in the United States of America in our election infrastructure. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good morning, Donna.
Hey, good morning.
Always nice to see you
Doing
guys.
well, Donna.
Good,
Same here.
good.
Great to see you all. Sorry, and we missed you last week. Hope everything's working out for you. And yeah.
Well, so my husband's a little bit, but he's better, but he still got that numbness on his left side. And they thought it was a stroke or a heart attack, and they ruled all of it out. And of course, none of us are vaccinated because, and I'll just say it, because we all believe that it was a death shot. And so anyhow, I don't know what it is, but the neurologist said that it looked like a viral attack. And Jason, you had some insight on this, because this, when the virus was the bioweapon, let's just call it what it is, the bioweapon was launched on all of us, including the bioweapon in the vaxes. You know, I'm going to get a strike on this one. That's okay. But anyhow, what were you saying that they were that?
Yeah. I was saying that Guillain-Barré syndrome was becoming prevalent as a result of the vaccinations. And that's where you could see the most notable was when half someone's face would essentially become paralyzed, and you would lose motor function of whether it's the part of the mouth or eyelids would droop and things of that nature. You would just lose control and it was typically half of the body. But it became very prevalent after the vaccinations, and now we've got those vaccinations. They're putting them in our food, in the animals that we eat, and I think they're even talking about doing the aerosolized version for children for school, which this is we've got to stop this.
Well, it's terrible. And in Michigan here, they were upgrading all the HVAC systems around, and all of the upgraded HVAC systems were to deploy said disinfectants, but who knows what they're putting in that stuff. I mean, there's no way I'd have my kids in any of these schools that had, well, I homeschooled my kids anyway, but it's like, there's no way I'd have my kids in any of these schools that you don't have any idea what they're spraying on your kids. And I've got some serious concerns, but yeah, that's what he said. He said it was like drawing a line right down the middle of his face. He was having trouble swallowing. His left arm, he couldn't pick up his left arm, and it even affected his leg. And so he's gotten some of it back. It's not where it was, where it was just like all of a sudden he's really having a problem. But just so everybody knows, this is really touching, all of this nonsense they're doing is touching real people. When COVID came around, we lost about 25 people that we knew during this whole COVID nonsense. A sister, 5 uncles and aunts, all of this stuff. And so it's not like we're just talking here. This is stuff that is affecting real people that they're doing. And if they think they're going to win every time they hit us, I can guarantee you some of us old cowgirls and such are going to come back and keep just letting them have it. You keep hitting us and we're going to come back harder. Only way you take us out is by a bullet. And I'm going to say it right there. And I'm pretty extra sure that you can't kill any of us, because it's only God Almighty that numbers our days. So no fear here. So what are we talking about?
That. I'm into that.
Gentlemen.
Well, this has been an
awesome.
It's a great open, and my prayers go out to you and your husband, and let's talk about this crazy infrastructure that is riddled with holes and vulnerabilities, and overreaching. I'm struggling on a way. We need more buy-in. It's great that we do podcasts, and it's a very small subset of the population that really knows what's going on. And I've been struggling to put this in simplistic terms so it can get out to the public, and they can join in the fight. I think ultimately my ultimate goal is the reclamation of the power of the vote count back to the people. I mean, we know that. I mean, what was it? Stalin. It's not who votes that matters. It's who counts the vote. And we've gone to this centralized vote count where you have 20 people in a back smoke-filled warehouse with pizza boxes on the window, counting votes. And the system, I'm in IT. I do it professionally for over 30 years, and I'm a jack of all trades. And we do managed services and security, and this is not a secure environment where our election systems are involved in. And that's the struggle, is getting it out to the people. Mainstream media won't let us talk about it, and we talk about Texas and what's going on at the border. And I mentioned earlier, well before we came online, that I had a disturbing exchange last night, and Grant, Jason, it was with Grant Stinchfield, and I sent him a text. I sent him a few texts in the past, and he responded, and the whole Texas, the way he presented Texas, and this is when he got cold and belligerent. I said that Eagle Pass and Shelby Park is like 4 miles out of like thousands, and I believe that Greg Abbott is a traitor, and that he facilitated the ground game to replenish the blue state defectors who fled to red states, and that this is going to come back. This is part of a long-term plan, so they're counted in the census, and the apportionment of power is stays in the favor of the globalists. And I said that this is now an effort to elevate Greg Abbott, and so everyone forgets about the 2.5 or 3 years of busing illegals, basically aiding and abetting the operation, being the ground game. And I asked him to talk about the voter registrations that are going on in Texas in mass numbers. And he started firing back at me. Why are you texting me at 9:00 on a Sunday? And I I didn't know you were so soft, Grant. I thought you were a warrior. And yeah, so he's like, well, that's it. I'm blocking you. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I have my own texting backbone with about 172 different, phone numbers, DLCs. So anyway, I think that Texas, Shelby Park, Eagle Pass, the barbed wire. I believe that the SCOTUS ruling, it was not as bad as we think. Basically, what did it really say? Yeah, well, the feds can go and cut the barbed wire fence. I mean, they can go to Shelby Park or an Eagle Pass and collect aluminum cans if they wanted to, and get for deposit if they wanted to. But it didn't say that Texas has to remove it. It didn't. They weren't ordered to remove it. They weren't forbidden from putting up new fencing. And it was like in my opinion, an attempt to once again, the shiny new distraction of du jour, right? We got this civil war going on, and that's my feelings.
Let me put a point of clarification on there too, and that is when it comes to if there was somebody drowning in the river, and a federal agent sees someone drowning in the river, or the cartel decides to just start shoving women and children into the river, and they're intentionally doing it because they want to elicit a response. are the people, the federal agents, CBP and ICE or otherwise, supposed to stand by and not do anything? So in the instances of cutting the wire, was there limitations? Is there restrictions in order to perform their functions and duties? Is it not necessarily because they're planning to remove all of it? There was not enough clarification. It was essentially, hey, this is a temporary restraining order. The feds need to be able to perform their duties. And so my response, and I posted this on Twitter and elsewhere, and that was, you need to create a demilitarized zone for the feds. Give them the first 10 meters of the border and then set up the Texas perimeter behind it. That way they have no excuse. You have no, and we'll have our checkpoints and the feds can come and go through it. And they can monitor the first 10 meters of the demilitarized zone and we'll have everything behind it. And now you have no justification for what you're doing. But there's that nuanced argument that's left out to dry because there was not enough information. And
they're manipulating all kinds of information. So in my opinion, any state that accepted the illegals that came in, no matter which way it is, the invading army, let's call it what it is. It's not refugees. This is an invading army. So Gretchen Whitmer, any of them that didn't turn these people around and send them right back to Texas where they were going through and let Abbott deal with it and send them back, they're all traitors. The governors are traitors that accepted any of these people into this nation. They should have been turned around at the border. They should have been dealt with down there. They should never have been bussed in. And any governor, all the governors that accepted any of them, allowed them in, were not fulfilling their duty.
Yeah,
or their office.
And specifically with Abbott, I believe that he was duped. He's complicit in human trafficking for sure.
Absolutely.
By doing that, but I believe that it was sold to him that, hey, we need to put the pressure on the rest of these states, and the only way we'll get them to prove to them that this is a bad thing is if we do it this way. And so I feel like he was very easily coerced. He went along with it, he believed in it, and he took on a message that was I think detrimental, but also made him complicit in human trafficking.
So we're going to Cloward Piven, the blue states with people, and it came back to. Are they that stupid? I mean, are they really? Can they not think on their feet? Can these people not think on their feet? If Carrie Lake wanted this out there, I would have gone through a sting. I would have taken the wire and I would have gotten more information. That whole thing stinks too. But having said that, I don't want to go off track.
We can do that, Jeff. We do that all the time.
But I want to get back to the to the national infrastructure crisis and what's going on with these federal registrations, these federal voter registrations. And I did a little more research. Can I present, or am I already presenting?
Absolutely. Hang on.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So this is Social Security SSA.gov, and I'm sorry to turn away from the camera. Let me try to move. If I move it, I'll lose my share. So
you're
I'm
fine.
sorry.
You're good right there. That's fine. And thank you for connecting me with Harry Howery. I love that guy.
Good. You're welcome. So what we have here is a federal voter registration. It's part of the Help America Verify Voters portion of the Help America Vote Act, which is a federal act, and it's terrible. But what we're seeing here, and this is out for the public. It's on Social Security SSA.gov. You guys can all see the URL up here on the left. And what's going on is you can see in the screen that we have columns of numbers. And in the first column, in a 1 week period, mind you, now this is 1 week, almost 70,000 voters were registered in the state of Arizona through Help America Verify Voters. And this isn't counting the local registrations. This is, well, let me rephrase that. These are voters that registered only using the last 4 digits, or all the states using the 4-digit have system. So this is very important, this 4-digit have system. So these voters came through, 69,313 of them, and somehow 55 of them were known to be dead. And this number for an entire week totals between 5,000 and 7,000. If you take the whole country, there's between 5,000 and 7,000 that come up single match deceased. So I just want to, pose the question on who's actually keying this data in. I mean, is it possible that there were 7,000 mistakes across the country of, someone was one digit off and it pulled the dead person up, or not? Or which I believe that these numbers are being handed out randomly, and we have non-matches, and we have so out of 69,000, 38,000 of them matched, but 30,000 didn't. So these are crazy numbers, and in Texas it's the same. It's let me get another.
Jeff, can you imagine if we made mistakes like this with the IRS, and they'd say, oh, they'd come down on us like ugly on an ape. And our government in this election, they have proven that there are a bunch of morons up there that can't do anything right. And they, if this was us, we would be in jail for the crap they're pulling.
I actually like that we see the stats there, and I like to see that there is that many rejections, because that means that they're using the system and the system's working. What concerns me more is when you don't see the checks. And like, for example, Michigan, look at Michigan's numbers. It's absolutely abysmal. It's almost as if they're not even using the system to verify socials.
That's a really good point, that there's some of them, but even if wouldn't you think that we could have a fail-safe system that wouldn't have this is like a squid with problems in every single direction. There's not just one problem. There's a multitude of problems. Yep. And you would think with this much failure, the rest of us, we would be in jail for this kind of failure or malfeasance.
Who approves these systems?
The legislature.
The Election Assistance. The Election Assistance Commission is the one that actually approves the systems that we use for our elections, and with the exception of only a few counties across America where they still do hand counting paper ballots. But anywhere that there's electronic mechanisms, it's approved through the EAC, and federal funding is allocated through there.
Unbelievable. So
in 1 week alone, on July 8th, the week ending July 8th, 170,000, 4,614 deceased, 50,000 non-matches. So we know this is the problem, and what the bigger problem is. And I did a radio show with Matt Rinaldi, the chairman of the Texas GOP, and he was denying this, and saying no, it's not happening. And we kind of had a little are you accusing me of lying exchange. But what I believe is that they're not pushing these through, and I believe, Matt, and I checked with other folks in Texas that they're not seeing them at the local. I believe they're going to dump these at the last minute, so they're not caught before the election. Or maybe we've seen some, Jason and I and some other folks have done some forensics on some virtual machines, some of the clones or copies of what was actually in use in 2020. And you see these weird connections to China and poll, electronic poll books. So this should be a zero trust environment. Maybe they're pushing these into a poll book. Jason, is that possible? They could go. We know how the APIs work. These how computers can talk to each other to put things in in layman's terms. So can these go right?
You've got the Halderman report and his testimony recently in Georgia indicating all of the different ways that these machines can be broken into. Then we have actually in Michigan, the Antrim case. Within that, there is a report by, it's actually a rebuttal to Halderman's statement that in Michigan, the Antrim flip, if you recall in 2020, was one of the counties that brought DePerno to fame. There was the 6,000 votes that had been flipped from Trump to Biden. And then when they went and looked that night, they caught it because it was a very red district and there was no way that it was going to flip, and people were like, "Did you vote?" No, and so they called in, and within the night they had flipped. They had found that there was human error, but the Lindbergh report shows that not only was there significant issues within the machines, but also there was 22 counties that were all connected and tied in, and they were managed by the same company, Election Source. And the Lindbergh report actually says that these 22 counties should all be checked to see if the same errors occurred in them. And this is when the case was then closed. So you're right. There's a lot of holes in this system, and we have Halderman testifying in Georgia to that effect, and we have the reports in Antrim County from 2020.
But whatever happened to Monica Palmer? Did Gretchen Whitmer like put her in the gulag? Remember, that was the one that was questioning that whole, that just went away. And that was very sad.
Well, yeah. Look what Nessel did with the information that came out of Muskegon with the voter registrations. She just passed it on to the state police and washed her hands of it. You don't get to wash your hands of it just because you passed it on. There's an accountability that goes with it to follow up on it and make sure that. But this is absolutely
and not to lie. And not to lie about it, because she wouldn't produce. She went on media and said there's no widespread fraud, yet they busted an entire ring that was operating in 6 different jurisdictions across the state, and she knew about it.
Yeah, and then she washed her hands and never revisited again, and then went like a little girl and said, "Oh, I passed this on to the state police. What else was I supposed to do? Maybe do your job."
Well, I'll tell you, there's one person you can't ask right now, and you can't subpoena, and that's your campaign manager.
Oh yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace is right, but that's just too much. That's just too it's too close to home, and there are these murders that people aren't talking about. One is Mike Lindell and his assistants, his right hand man, his assistant was beheaded in the streets of in Minnesota, if you remember that story.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but the whole thing was that it got out there, but no one was supposed to. You couldn't talk about it. That it was Mike Lindell's right hand person that helped him build that company.
Was it a beheading or was it stabbing? I thought it was a stabbing.
No, I'll get you guys the articles off time, but this is offline. We could talk about it maybe next clip. But there's all of this stuff adds up to to us critical thinkers. But if we can go back to the slide, because I believe that this is something that we can deliver to the public in a concise, understandable manner. That we all, most of the folks in the country, I'm going to probably poll say 70 or 80% believe that the Department of Justice and the FBI has been weaponized. Federal agencies are weaponized. Now, everyone knows in this chat between us that what CISA is: Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, and it was it's part of the Department of Homeland Security, which is basically a residual to the Patriot Act and what happened in 9/11. I believe that CISA was established in, I think, 2018 or so, but CISA has been weaponized against us, and this is all provable. We know from the Twitter files. They called CISA the nerve center of censorship, and there's I have part 2. I have 43 to 84 pages of proof on this, but I want to make this digestible for the public, and here's the long and short of it. What you're looking at here is the state of Florida, and everyone can understand that there's websites that end in .gov, such as the Social Security one that I just showed, and there's also .com, like the one we're on now. .com is more along the lines of the private, and .gov is, the government. But a funny thing happened in 2019, and I believe this was all part of the plan to steal 2020 and 2024, where CISA now became what's called a top-level domain registrar, meaning they're the ones that will act as GoDaddy and Network Solutions, where private companies. There's Cloudflare, so they're responsible for the registration of a person's domain. And to make just to simplify things, it's not a good thing. It gives special access to the registrar. Now, there's also executive orders that basically direct CISA to grant unique access to contractors. So anyone that wants to refute this and says, well, no, the DNS zone is different than the registrar, they can't get into it. Well, it's in writing, it's in an executive order, it's in the PowerPoint slide that I have up. Unfortunately, I won't have enough time to get to it right now. But what we see here, the first three, this is a bar chart, and the light blue represent voting jurisdictions that have .gov websites, .gov environments. Top-level domain is handled, controlled, registered by CISA, and 30 are .gov and 37 are .com. So if I'm a normie, regular citizen, wouldn't that raise a red flag? I'm asking for a response. Do you think that would be like, hey, something's up there? It's like you go to the diner and you get the placemat, and what do you find out what's wrong? Am I onto something?
I don't think people are that aware of the difference, and I don't think they realize it either. That the difference is technically local control versus federal control.
Exactly. Well, so I'm trying to get this out to the public, and that was the first thing I wanted to I don't know if your audience can weigh in on the chat or not, but it is different. So I think that just any critical thinking person will say, hey, well, yeah, one is gov and one is com. But here's the kicker: that the three most populated counties, actually the four most populated counties, are under CISA control, under CISA management, which represents 16 million of the 22 million voters. And they're basically very tight. They could be manipulated. These little counties down here, the 37 counties that aren't under CISA rule, they're like 2-to-1 red in favor, they lean heavily red. So they're low value targets, the way I see it. And, I just want to get this out to the public in the most simplistic way, because from there, I could go on. It only gets worse. We know CISA, they played a role in the censorship. We all remember Chris Krebs, right? This is the most secure election. So Chris Krebs and Paul Rosenzweig, they left CISA. These are two of the main players who all have deep roots to big tech. And it's very concerning that this executive order says, well, you have to give unique access to our contractors. And what does that mean? Where I'll close with this.
That means they can hide anything from the voter they want with nobody being able to oversee what they're doing.
And it's the perfect man in the middle attack too. So if you want to control the information that's coming out of those jurisdictions, guess what? You're positioned to manipulate that data in any way you want. And while that is exactly the great firewall of China and Russia that they have with their on and off switch for the internet there, this is essentially what is being built here in our country.
Yes. I 100% agree.
Well, it's the private-public partnership crap where they can go and they can do all of the surveillance, and then they pass it into our elected officials, and they can go, I don't know how this happened. We got it from them. We were following the rules, but they're breaking the intention of the rules.
This is the point. This is very complex, and it's very difficult for the average citizen to grasp. And the bottom line is that the people need to reclaim the power of the vote count. It has to be decentralized at the precinct level. Every ballot, including absentee or vote by mail, they need to be counted at a decentralized location. We have to switch. The people count the vote, and the county oversees the vote count. Yes, the people can actually touch them. It's not a crime. They're not going to melt, right? I think if we don't do that, we're done, because I'm tired. I think it's not going to bear any fruition if we keep looking at the machines are bad and this file was corrupt and every single thing. No, it's top level. Like if it was my customer, I would say, listen, before we look at your workstations and your 2008 Windows Server, which is 16 years old, which by the way is the technology that our voting infrastructure runs on, I would say we have to look at the threat surface, right? And look at what can penetrate us. And it's an abomination. This would never ever. I wouldn't run my daughter's lemonade stand on this infrastructure. It's that bad.
Yes, and it's really important for everybody to understand that all the problems that we have right now, you can go right back to if we don't have an honest, free and fair elections. We just have their little globalist puppets that they put in place. And all the problems stem from the failed elections. Because this could be put, if somebody were actually following the actual law instead of just rewriting whatever they want to get done, to keep them in power and such, we could actually reverse so much of the damage that's been done. And my thing that I think we need to go to is just nullification. We need to nullify about 90% of this nonsense that they've put in place and go back to even the count. You're supposed to vote in private, but the count has to be in public. The minute you put that ballot into a machine, it's a private count. So the whole thing is unconstitutional, and they just get away with it.
Two things. I believe that it is logistically possible, and Arizona just proved it. They counted 2,500 ballots. There was 12 different races. They weren't races. Some were ballot initiatives, but same time. And it took 13 man hours, and they turned it around in 1 hour. So I believe that really that the people need to rise up and get to our state legislators, declare a state of emergency, because it's possible that those illegal or those HAVA registrations could be pushed into Florida's database. They could land anywhere. And we don't have a zero trust tolerance election. It can be penetrated. And this was a late breaking discovery that I was doing a little more research on Sunday while watching football. This 4-digit, they call it the 4-digit verification. All of a sudden in Florida, in South Carolina, and in Texas, the same law was just passed in recent legislation. And that's that you can request a vote by mail ballot with only the last 4 digits of your social security number. So how did all these laws pass at the same time? To me, this is like RICO. Basically, this is a conspiracy. They're passing the same laws, cookie cutter laws, that I believe Mark Elias and Eric Holder are pushing out to the state legislators, and they're being intimidated to pass them. And I noticed that there's in the Florida statutes there were these typos, and it's as if like no one's like, who's reading this? It's just getting pushed into law. But I think if we look at the latest bills, and I'm using two of them off the top of my head right now, Bill 7050 from Florida and Bill 150 from South Carolina. I mean, at what point does this become a conspiracy act of changing all of the election laws to work against the people? And that's another reason that I think if we could present that picture, and Governor DeSantis declare a state of emergency. We have issues in Florida. We have an invasion at the border. You've weakened the election laws intentionally. He basically sold himself to the devil. So they would change the law for resign to run, because 7050 is an abomination. They wanted to use this. I call it the Carrie Lake law. They wanted to use the last 4 digits of a social security number instead of signature verification. And why? That's because Carrie's team busted them, saying that there was like 12 people who could verify 82,000 vote mail-in ballots in an 8-hour shift. It's not possible if it's 45 to 90 seconds. It's just the logistics aren't there. So all of a sudden now, we could do the verification by the last 4 digits of a social. That just means you have to look. That's a lot faster than actually looking at a signature. So I believe that we have a case. I believe I'm going to further investigate, and other people from other states should check their recent election laws And I'll almost guarantee you that we'll see the same sweeping laws across the country. And I don't take it to the Supreme Court. Is this RICO against the people? What laws do these serve the people? They don't. They only weaken them. And with that, I gotta get off my soapbox. I gotta get ready for my next appointment. So I'll leave it on that. I'll see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Okay, you got to stay on here longer, Jeff. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah,
you guys too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I'll follow up with 2 points.
Yeah. You follow. I'm gonna listen in. I'm gonna just mute myself. I'll be watching.
Can you share that with me? Can you put that in something that I can get it? And because I'll post it.
Yes, ma'am.
Put it all over the place. Okay, this is great. This is how it's done. People sharing information. You take. Talk to people who have other expertise that you don't have, and put your heads together. And it's a wonderful way to approach this in a team manner. So you're going to stay on, Jason? Yeah,
I wanted to cover a couple of points to get the tie-ins done. Jeff was rushed there, and there's a couple of things I want to bring back around.
Can you wait for a few minutes, or are you in a time constraint? Hang on, let me bring Stan on just a second.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, Stan. How you doing?
Good morning. I have plenty of time. Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Jason. This is our next guest, Stan, and I will bring him on because he's a American Substance Abuse Foundation. So we're going to talk about that next. So go ahead, Jason. Let's talk about these tie-in things.
So I wanted to bring back in, Jeff was very focused on how CISA's not doing its job and how it's actually taking control of the domains, the websites, the controllers that process the information for your local jurisdictions, your cities, and your townships and counties. And I wanted to bring back to the Lindbergh report, because inside the Lindbergh report out of Antrim County, it also shows that there was software that was not approved by the EAC and CISA to be on that equipment. And it was the SQL Management Studio version 17.1. And that software being on the machine actually invalidates the image, and it compromises the integrity of that election. On top of that, because it was connected, and the people who built the image, election source workers, they could have manipulated, I'm not saying they did, but I'm saying that the availability of influencing 22 elections or 22 counties elections in 2020 was there. And that this institution is responsible for reporting these types of issues so we can fix them. But instead, they've run this debunking campaign to shut down any dialogue or discussion. Now, there's no reason for us not to say, hey, let's look at this. This is a valid argument. Did Donald Trump have a valid argument? Well, let's look. But when you tell everybody, no, there's nothing to see here, as Chris Graves did, the director of CISA at the time. Oh, we lost Stan.
That's okay. I can bring him back. There he is.
So I wanted to bring that tie-in back in, because he was talking about why the concern of CISA. And this is why I'm saying this is a serious concern. It was their responsibility to inform the people, but instead they were the conveyors of disinformation, and they were disingenuous arbiters of the truth. And because of that, we haven't had a genuine attempt to remedy the broken system. And as long as they're okay with continually breaking the system by creating opportunities to inject massive amounts of people onto the voter rolls, and then especially when it's illegals, where are they living? How are you're going to have what, 30 to 40 people in a single home? Are they all using the Catholic Church or a Catholic church or another institution as their registered address? 8 million people don't have homes already sitting here waiting for them to walk into them. So if you've got 8, 9, 10 million people who've crossed the border, where are they? How is it that they're automatically being registered? Why are in some states no checks on Social Security numbers apparently being done? And if they are, is it being done through a nefarious third party who is proven to be biased in the past, such as Eric?
Yeah, Eric and GBI strategies and such. And when you look at Jonathan Brader, who's the chairman of the board of Eric, I don't know why everybody out there isn't saying this isn't a conspiracy. This is a criminal conspiracy happening here. And of all of these players that are so interrelated, you couldn't make this up. You couldn't make a movie with this kind of a plot.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll leave this last thing, and I think it'll help tie in Stan here as well, and that is has to do with the border and the financial benefit that the Bidens get from keeping the border open through their ownership of an organization or a company, a corporation called ePlata, E-P-L-A-T-A, ePlata, and that is a digital banking institution that is processing the remittances, the money that the illegals and legal immigrants, are sending abroad. So the Bidens, and this came out in congressional testimony, so it's not like conspiracy or whatever. This was proven in congressional testimony because subpoenas asking questions. So they found out, and they were supposed, by the way, they were supposed to relinquish control of or sell these stocks, and they were hauled back in and said, "Did you sell this stuff, the stocks and your shares in this digital banking platform?" The amount of money that is being sent out of the country is upwards of $60 billion. The Bidens control roughly 8.25% of that company. If they're taking 10% profit, well, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars that the Bidens could potentially be getting from having the border wide open, from helping facilitate the cartel's human trafficking operation. This is the problem, and I've posted this on Facebook and on Twitter, and both of them were censored. But there was no community notes added, so that's real interesting. But the reason and why I wanted to make this tie-in for Stan here is because of the flood of fentanyl that is coming in through that border, that is creating an addiction epidemic. Once again, under Trump, he had gotten the opioid crisis under control. He had hit the big pharma hard. And there is a huge pot of money. I forget what the total amount was. It's in the billions of dollars for those children and families impacted by the loss of loved ones due to opioids. And I wanted to just bring that in there because that kind of ties a lot of this stuff back in: the stolen election, the reason for the open border, and addiction.
It's very, very sad. And with the amount of fentanyl that's in this country, what is it? I've heard that they could kill the population 10 times over.
Yeah, it's
very. I think everybody should have Narcan on them all the time, just in case. I really do. And I think it's a great, because just talking with John Ferguson, John said they know how to aerosolize it. Somebody decides to do something stupid like that, and they could take out an entire city.
Yeah,
it's sad, but you know what? We have to be smart. We can't just ignore what's happening. We've got to be smart about what we're doing now, because the enemy is within at this point. We're going to fight our way out of this at this point, and that's just the way it is. So protect yourself and your family. Thanks, Jason, for all that information.
Thank you.
You can stay on if you want to. It's up to you. But I want to welcome Stan and Stan Leszewski. All right. I'm not a name wizard here. So would you please introduce yourself and tell everybody what you're doing with the fentanyl crisis and the that's pouring across to address that problem?
Hi, my name is Stan Leszewski. I'm born and raised in Jersey City, New Jersey, lifelong resident. And I also, battled my own demons in the world of substance abuse. I come from a traditional American family in Jersey City. And, we get to the subject about border security and substance abuse, fentanyl crisis, you know, this whole conversation from the beginning of this broadcast up until now, you know, I sit and I listen as if I was a normal person out in society who really doesn't have much education and just caught up in the daily stresses of waking up every day, going to work, and hearing Jeff come on and start talking about, you know, secure votes and voter integrity and everything that we're talking about. You know, for the average common mind in society, it's overwhelming and it's hard to comprehend. You know, you take substance abuse in America, how it impacts the minds of Americans. It's literally, you know, you put the drug into your body, it hijacks your mind, it dictates your behavior, and it tells you how you're going to live. It turns into a compulsion. You're no longer teachable. And for me, to live through a hell of battling my own substance abuse problems my entire life, and from my own experience, I can relate to the seriousness of the impact it's having on our country. My story, for example, you know, I met with some politicians local in Jersey City. I had to introduce myself, and my line was, you know, I became a success in life, a success at failure. Due to substance abuse, everything I touched pretty much turned to shit. Nothing ever lasted. You know, businesses, my marriage, education, finances. You know, this disease of addiction literally hijacked my entire life and held me hostage and prevented me from becoming any type of success in life. It literally bring me to my knees, and countless times I was dead on arrival from the drugs that come into this country. So just from my own personal story, you know, there's millions of people out there that are battling drug addiction, substance abuse problem. And instead of the country progressing and becoming more prosperous, it's going in reverse, like my life did. The fentanyl is killing hundreds of thousands of people a year. It's hijacking the lives of American citizens and preventing them from becoming any type of success, preventing them at any chance of becoming anything successful that would contribute to the growth and prosperity of our country. And, you know, you take, like I said, you know, you go back to society. The people in society today, they're so distracted and they're so hijacked on different substances, drugs. You know, they legalized marijuana. We really didn't need, you know, marijuana on a local level legalized. It's just like pouring gas on a fire. You know, it's hard enough, you know, forever since prohibition with alcohol. You've been dealing with, you know, alcohol problems. And, you know, just the opioid, the fentanyl crisis in America, it's unbelievable. You know, I'm out there in the field. I'm in all these places. I have groups of people. I have a network that starts from the coast of Massachusetts along the Atlantic to the tip of Florida. And I'm in and out of all these institutions, rehabs, detoxes. I go to all of these events, and I can't count how many funerals I've gone to, how many people that I've gotten close to. And it's the disease of addiction. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how big your house is, what kind of car you have, what color your skin is. You know, it's the same for anyone. You know, you show me any person who's still actively using any kind of addictive substance, and I could pretty much predict their future. You know, their life isn't going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And it's just a matter of time before eventually, you know, they're going to die from it or wind up in incarceration. You know, it's a financial burden on the economy in America. And not only that, you know, you go into the crime prevention part of it, and it's the recidivism, the drug dealers, you know, the bail reform laws. You know, it's like a revolving door for failure. Now, you know, you put the substance abuse problem in society in America. You know, people aren't going to work. They're not we don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough scientists. We don't have enough teachers. It's like a cancer in America. You know, you look at China. Does China have a drug problem? No. You know, you get caught in China selling drugs, it's an automatic death sentence. You know, I look at these things, I pay attention to these things because, it's like politics today. It's so enormous. There's so much going on, and with the voter integrity situation, substance abuse, and just the chaos in politics, it's overwhelming for the average mind.
Mhm.
And I feel that politics could use a really good 12-step program and
Yes,
detox of all the bullshit that's going on out in the world.
That's
I mean, just like
absolutely
a drug hijacks the mind, you get these divided politics reflects a divided society in our country. It goes to the media. It's the list goes on and on, but it coincides with the substance abuse, because you have a society that has substance abuse problems. They're not aware of what's really going on behind the scenes. Their minds are hijacked by substances, and they're not capable of learning and understanding what's really going on, the truth. It was very hard and difficult for me. Like, I met up with Jeff again. We've known each other over 30 years, and we reconnected after so many years. And I went down to Florida a year ago, and just being around him, I learned so much about what's going on in the world, in politics, and
well, and it's so
everything is
depressing.
about. And
It's so depressing for people, and you see all the things that you love kind of being attacked from all sides. And the thing of it is that it's real easy to fall into needing to cope with it and making choices that probably are more destructive than helpful, like the substance abuse lane to go into. And I know one of the things I always tell people is that if you want to feel better, you have to serve other people around you. Find a bigger thing than yourself and the problems. You need to jump in and help. As soon as you start helping, getting in the fight and helping other people, all of a sudden the black cloud will start melting away. And in that action in a positive direction. And usually if you just focus in on serving other people, or your animals or something like that, you'll see the good in the world, because you'll be a force for good in the world to counter the negative. And it's really unfortunate, because it does feel like a Marxist takedown of this nation. The more that they can interject bad things and people grab onto those just to cope, the more they can tear down the nation.
Right. I mean, Don, if you look at China makes all the precursors for the fentanyl. They sell it to the cartels. The cartels smuggle it back into the United States. It's not heroin. It's not cocaine. It's bootleg pills. Even in the marijuana now that's out in the streets. So it's a direct attack on a country without them firing a single shot. And what it's doing, it's more zeroed in on the younger generations as well, because that's an attack on the educational system, the minds of the younger generations. What are you going to, instead of growing up to be something successful in America to contribute to the growth and prosperity of our country, they turn out to be drug dealers, criminals, addicts out in the street that are living hopeless, aimless lives. And I see this, thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in these facilities struggle.
I think you locked up there a minute, Stan.
Did we lose him?
I think we might have lost him. He locked up or something.
Right. Am I back?
There you go.
There you go. Yes. Yeah, sometimes
I'm in all these facilities, and I see hundreds of thousands of people monthly, literally to their knees. And it's not just the individual who's affected by it, it's their families, their wives. And like I said, instead of this country, instead of society becoming more educated and contributing to the growth and prosperity of our country, it's going the opposite. It's the failure rate is unbelievable. But it doesn't just affect the user of these substances, it affects the families, the friends, and it affects our economy. It's putting economical strains on the money that's going out. It's like it's actually part of American economy now. Substance abuse. It's fueling the detoxes, the rehabs, the insurance companies, the methadone clinics, and the list goes on. These people. I believe there should be reform with with substance abuse policy, where it should be zero tolerance. I touch base with these not-for-profit organizations, these substance abuse awareness programs that are out there, the NGOs, and I'm reaching out and I'm learning as I go on. I'm in the middle of structuring, my non-for-profit, American Substance Abuse, and these people are sending me samples of what they give out to the public, and I received the box. It had socks in it for homeless. I had like these kits for people who use hypodermic needles and fentanyl test strips. That's all great. Narcan kits. That's great. But then I get to another bag. It's a plastic bag. You can't see through it. And I open it. It's a crack pipe in it. Not only just a crack pipe, but it's all the utensils. The straw boy that goes.
So they're actually pushing this.
And they even put 2 pieces of candy in the bag, and some and chapstick. It's like how's that harm reduction? How's that helping anything? I feel it should be zero tolerance policies when it comes down to substance abuse. That there's so many issues, just like there's so many issues, with the voting laws and everything that's going on. And government has gotten so big and so out of control. It's something has to be done. It's
an attack against America. And you brought up the death penalty for drug dealers. Drug dealers know what they're doing.
I look at drug dealers today as domestic terrorists.
They sure are.
I have a profound understanding of what happens when they sell that drug to someone and what that person's life turns into, and the effects it has on the economy, the judicial system, the law enforcement. And, it's negative. It's bad. It's a cancer in the United States, and it's spreading like wildfire. And for us to come on this podcast or go on the news and start talking about everything that's going on, it's too much for the average mind to comprehend because they're lost.
Well, I tell you, I have one of my best friends, his son was going out one night and somebody gave him a Xanax in the bubble wrap. And it turns out it was pure fentanyl, and he was dead before he hit the ground. And they know this was during when COVID started. I opened my barn up and we had people in there all day long and through the night, and we were praying and on our knees and trying to help everybody cope. He was 26 years old. And that man that provided him that Xanax, because they put it in the bubble wrap. And I think this is the best thing we can do is we can warn people out there. This is what this looks like. This on a daily basis. Be warned. Tell your kids. They were packing Xanax or fentanyl in the Xanax the bubble packages, and that's what killed him. And it was quick. And his dad found him. And his dad is one of our very best friends. And it was a very, very, very brave veteran, quite honestly. And they took out his kid. That's not a good thing to have happen, at all. And
I've lost count of how many friends and loved ones that were the closest to me have died from the fentanyl.
Tell people what to look for so they can avoid this sort of thing by being sucked in like my friend's son was. And he was a wonderful, wonderful person.
Don't buy drugs.
Don't take anything that's given to you.
Don't buy. And it's, I'm all about zero tolerance and abstinence completely. There should be more awareness in schools, right now we're treating an epidemic problem. People already picked up a drug. They're already addicted to it. It's like being sick and going to a doctor. You go to the doctor with a fever, you got a headache. The doctor evaluates you. He writes you a script. Here, go home. People with drug, already picked up a drug and they're already addicted to it. They're going to these treatment centers. They're writing them. They're putting them on methadone. It's a synthetic opioid. It's no different than street heroin. I mean, there are people who live productive lives on it, but you have to take it for the rest of your life. You come off it, you're going to go through withdrawals just like heroin. It's no different, except there's no fentanyl in it. It's controlled by the DEA. It's a controlled substance, and it's administered, through these methadone programs, along with Suboxone. It's a substitute. It's a synthetic substitute for a street drug. But what I'm saying is, the younger generations, the schools, it's so important to prevent these young kids from picking up that first drug. Because once you get in, the border security with the drugs coming in has to be eliminated. It has to be reduced dramatically to allow this country to detox the problems that are going on, in society, for us to catch up, and like I said, getting back to the importance of the younger minds, the younger generation, to prevent them from picking up that first drug. It's once they pick it up, that's it. There's no coming back. Eventually, they're going to die, and that's the root cause right there. If there was no drug, there would be no problem. But the drugs are here, and there's not enough being done about it.
Well, I'm going to bring on my next guest, too, to join us here, Gabriella Fox, because she's doing something about it. She's running for office. How are you, Gabriella?
I'm good. How are you, Donna?
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us today. And you're in the fight on all of these issues that we're talking about this morning, the fentanyl problem, the problem with our border, the election problems, and you're brave enough to step up and do something. And I saw you're a farm girl too. So always loving talking to my farm girl friends. So how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Yes, I
Introduce
got
yourself,
involved.
please.
Yes. So my name's Gabrielle Fox. I am running for Florida State House, District 94. It's in Palm Beach County. It's the western part of the district. It's the agricultural part of the county. And I got involved, I would say, in politics from the sidelines about 7 years ago. Prior to that, I was apolitical. I would say that it was Trump's presidency that sort of pulled me in, along with meeting my husband, who definitely red-pilled me, because I was one of those people that it was like, see no evil, hear no evil. I don't pay attention to the news. I don't want to know. I think most of it's fake. And he really opened my eyes, actually using Alex Jones, which is a really big red pill. And I wasn't prepared for what he was saying. I thought it was fake or conspiracy until I started doing a lot of research on my own, because I said, there's just no way this is true, the stuff that he was saying. And the biggest catalyst for me that really changed my whole trajectory, I would say, in life and in general, was learning about the child trafficking pandemic.
Yeah, it's all of these problems are so interrelated too, that it goes back to nobody that's sitting in the seat is really doing anything right now of the our elected officials. I'm for having a clean house top to bottom, because they know what they're doing. And there's no two ways about it. We need more good people like yourself who are willing to step up and address these problems. And as to your point, Stan, is a zero tolerance for drugs, for fentanyl, for the substance abuse, for these nonprofits that are human trafficking. And it's the nonprofits that are involved in this that were stashing the ballots with the vote. That are taking money for human trafficking. I found one up in Michigan. They lost 80 kids down at the border, and they showed up in Michigan under the care of Bethany Christian Services. And so I think we've got a big problem here, and we've got a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing in all of these agencies. To your point, Stan, they're giving them crack pipes in there. How do you address a problem by enabling a problem? Say,
I actually had to stop myself. I had to stop and look through the box. I was like, why don't you just say, is there crack in here too? Is there drugs in the box?
Yeah.
You give something like that to an addict, it's going to trigger them right away. It's like, hey, look what I got. I don't have money, but let me go rob a lady's pocketbook or something. It's insane. And it's like everything we're talking about for the average mind in America. From all the chaos and all the shit that's going on in society today, it's just the average mind can't comprehend what's going on. Everything that's being discussed, about border security, substance abuse, the situation with the voting systems. It's a lot, and I feel things need to be really simplified for the average mind to understand the seriousness of what's at stake here. You know, our country is about to turn into a third world country. And it's like, you know, you start talking about the things we're talking about to the average people. Let me flip the camera around right now to show you where I'm at. I'm in my gym right now.
You're in where?
In my gym, Retro Fitness.
Oh, there you go. There
And
you go.
you know, I talk to people on a daily basis, and it's like, you know, you get into conversations about, you know, elections being hijacked and rigged. These people, like, they turn around, they look at you like you got 5 eyes on your face because their minds can't understand what's going on. You know, they're brainwashed by what they see on TV, what they read on the news, and to be like, I'm here in Jersey City in New Jersey. I'm in Manhattan most of the time, and everywhere I go and talk about these things, nobody gives a shit. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to listen. They think it's all conspiracy theory, and this is one of the most densely populated cities in America, Jersey City. And it's, you know, it's like the United Nations here. And it's just unbelievable. And I really have a profound understanding of how serious the substance abuse problem is on the minds of Americans, where you wonder why people don't take anything serious, because they're not
Getting in the game. It's like the bread and circuses, you know, and the fake stream media and such. And the best thing that we can do with all of this, and this is one of the things that I said at our Constitution Party meeting this past weekend, was you have got to start getting in the game. And what that looks like is not giving the money to the political parties at this point in time. They're all crap. The political parties are a crap system. The Constitution Party has no money, so nobody can grift off of it, which is a really beautiful thing. It's all by sheer effort of the people that are involved. You're either going to put out as far as your effort to win this nation back, or there's nothing here for you, right? And this is what we need to do. We all have to get in the game and help. We need to run for office like Gabriella is doing. And we need to step up into the election integrity issues like Jason is doing, and the substance abuse, because it's going to take each and every one of us to jump into this and decide they're not going to do it. The government is not going to be here to help you. They're the enemy at this point in time. It's the enemy of the people is this crime syndicate that has put their puppets in the positions in order to lead us astray. And anyhow, Gabriella, tell us some of the situations you've got down there too that you're specifically fighting, and who are you running against that we can put this out there, and why? What is the impetus of this? I just applaud you.
So basically, as I said, I was on the sidelines. I've done marches in West Palm Beach regarding child trafficking. I've been on election integrity committees and in groups for about the last year or two. My focus was all about the kids. And then my focus, I realized that the root problem of what's happening to the kids and what's happening with the fentanyl and the border is the elections. If we don't fix the elections, the people that they select will continue to be in power, and either they are complicit and actively involved, or they are looking the other way and being, paid or having some benefit to doing so. So if we don't get people in office who do care, and I've seen the same thing that Stan has seen, where people look at me like I have 20 different heads when I say that Florida elections are not secure. Let me be very clear about Florida. Florida is one of the most corrupt states in the United States because they have fully pulled the wool over all the conservatives' eyes into thinking that we're a red state and we have a lot of Republicans in our state legislature and in our governorship, etc. These people are not actual conservatives. They are people that have slapped the name Republican up on their campaign website and on all their material, and then they are not voting or behaving like conservatives.
They're wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yes.
They are not who they say they are. We're used to the labels, and the labels don't matter anymore because they're highly they're highly misleading.
And that goes to my other important point. Besides getting our election secured, and here in Florida, we use uncertified voting machines. We have mass mail-in ballots, and they use the excuse that Florida has an older population and the older people love the mail-in ballots. But we have another issue as well, and I really want voters to hear this. Instead of just voting for the person that you get the most mailers from, or that you like their last name, or that you maybe one of your friends said they know them or are friends with them. Voter education is the #1 way that they completely fool people and manipulate people. And it's so easy to look up a candidate and find out what they're really about. I always say this, and many other people do as well: follow the money.
Yeah.
All you have to do is type in whatever state you're in, Michigan political donations. Type it in Google. You can even use crappy Google. Michigan political donations. Once you're on the website, look for the candidate, look for their last name, find out who's donating to them, and then type them in as a contributor. Type their name in as a contributor. See who they have given money to. This is so easy to do. It doesn't matter what you're in. If you can figure out who's funding them and who they have funded, you can tell so much about the candidate. And the other thing is, look up their history. So everybody's on social media these days. If you're not on social media, you popped out of nowhere and suddenly you have all these political donations and you have all this money backing you. That's a huge red flag. You can go back and look at my track record online of everything that I've been doing for the past 5-6 years. A lot of these candidates, you can't find them at all. And suddenly they have all this money coming in, and all I have to do is look up their name. I have 4 Republicans running against me right now that if you look up their political donations and the people who have donated to them, you'll find a treasure trove of corruption and pay for play.
Well, you do point out, and I did say the exact same thing. I'm running for Congress in Michigan, and at the last speech, I was up with the other Republicans talking. I told everyone, I said, look, you need to go to fec.gov. You need to look up at political contributions, and then you have to ask yourself, if somebody's self-funding more than what they will get paid for the position, why are they self-funding that much? Do they really believe in the position, or is someone else bankrolling them through another mechanism?
Yeah.
And what's really going on? Who's really behind them? Because yes, you can get some transparency by going and looking at the funding, but some are self-funded and they're using trust mechanisms to funnel money from one source to another. And that's how they avoid disclosures. And so when you look at someone, you're like, what's their net worth? How are they a made person that they can, spend all of this money for 2 years in Congress, and you're only going to make $300,000, and you're going to end up spending how much on travel and accommodations to be there in DC? Here's
another quick trick.
There's also a point there, because I funded 98% of my governor's race, and I knew I was never going to get it back. But I knew that we will lose this nation unless everybody does what it says in the Declaration of Independence, which is pledging your time, your fortune, and your sacred honor. And
you're a true believer, Donna, and you can
I'm
tell a true believer.
Everybody's behind, because I'm so principled about this.
I want to mention one other thing too. If you take note, recently the Navy just released an update that they dropped the minimum requirements to join sign up into the service. There's no educational requirements no longer.
You can even be an illegal alien in here, or an invading
what I'm saying is,
army.
It's society in America. The education. Why?
Right.
What was that?
Another quick trick regarding the candidate stuff. What you were saying, Jason, about how they're somehow funneling the money differently. look up their LLCs. You can do that on your state too. Look up your Michigan LLC records, or, just like our lovely resident in chief and all of their LLCs and shell companies and their little shell game, you can look up who owns what PACs. That's another big thing, is look up PACs. If somebody's giving to a PAC, just Google the PAC, find out who's behind it, and then look up their political affiliations. Here's another crazy thing that's been happening in Florida. There are certain entities or organizations in Florida that are funding SOEs, Supervisor of Elections offices. So every county has one. And they're also political operative organizations. Like they help candidates, and they're funding our supervisor of elect. Like, think about that. It's the supervisor of election should have no ties whatsoever to political, candidate organizations that are PACs that are helping candidates, because basically that's pay for play. But yeah, look up the LLCs, look up who donates to them, look who they've donated to, and really pay attention to, if you see a bunch of lobbyist firms donating to a first-time candidate, and I have somebody in my race that's happening with, that's a Republican. As a voter, if I wasn't running at all and I just looked this up, that person's automatically X'd. You're out. I want people that, like Trump has pointed out before, something like over 90% of all Trump's donations come from small donors, like under $150. That's who I want to vote for. Period. Mm-hmm. And as far as self-funding, like, yeah, if you're able to, and your track record speaks for itself, and you really have been in this fight, and you're not just some person that popped out of nowhere and then suddenly you're throwing, $1 million, $500,000 into a governorship race or whatever the case may be, maybe that's okay. But in my district, in Florida, for the state house seat, it's like $28,000 or $29,000 a year. If the person who's running against me is putting in $20,000 of their own money, and the average person in my district, which I looked this up, makes about $68,000 a year, how is this person going to relate to the average person, and how is this candidate going to relate to the average person in my district? The answer is they're not. They raised $100,000 in like the first month or two of their campaign for a $28,000 seat.
Well, the point that you're putting out here, which is very evident in the state of Michigan, we have about 22 oligarch families who are absolutely buying our elections. And there's no two ways about it. It has nothing to do with individuals. Now, there's a few individuals that will step up and do the right thing, but overall, it is a pay to play situation. It is something, that's bought. And when I started running, I had somebody come that was a retired congressman tell me I had to put $20,000, pay $20,000, or I'd never get on the ballot. And I know exactly who it went to. He also offered me a stick full of blackmail material on every single member of Congress and said, if you use it, it'll get you in. If you don't, it'll get you killed. And I'm like, there's the road. You're out of here, because this girl doesn't pay to play. And that people don't realize how deep and how absolutely criminal this and how slick they are. We had somebody come to our Constitution Party the meeting this weekend, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to publicly fry this guy. And he tried to take over the meeting, and they talk and interrupted our main speaker. And finally, I was like, enough. And this guy bills himself as a grassroots guy. He's not. There's no two way, and I know this because he had the guy that told me I had to pay the 20,000. He was pushing something that he was putting out in his last little cockamamie scheme he came up with, and so if you pay attention to this stuff, you can really see it. A lot of these people too, they have aliases. If you look into their background and you do a little snooping around, that you will find their connections. And I even find the money is a good place to start, but there's deeper ways to look too, because you have somebody like Robert Owens up here that was convicted, had felony convictions, and we found that he put a Tesla under somebody else's name. And I believe that he put a Tesla under somebody else's name to perhaps not show up on the records. But stuff is going on all over the place. So they know how to hide this stuff too. And so, but when you look at the connections between who they're sitting with and who, do they have connections to, I don't know, say the Chinese Communist Party and Rice University. There's a few individuals in the state of Michigan that do. Yeah. That we have to, Jason's laughing because he knows exactly who I'm talking about too. And, to really look into it, but not listen to the headlines that they put out there because they're highly misleading. And I'd love to talk with you more about this too. And talk about some of the solutions you have for how you're going to hold them accountable.
So one of the biggest fears of politicians, and I say that there's a big difference all the time. I think I actually wrote a blog on this, politician versus a public servant. The biggest fear of a politician is being exposed and being their feet held to the fire. So when someone like me walks into Florida State House and I, let's say, propose a bill that is going to secure our elections, let's just use an example. And there are my fellow House members there, and there are people who are not signing on to this. I'm going to use the power of the media, because the media reaches the people. Hey, XYZ County, call your rep, because they're not supporting you having secure elections, you having a precinct hand count, for example. Let them know how you feel. And if they don't change their tune, I would seriously reconsider reelecting them. Their biggest fear is getting in and then getting kicked out, because their political career, if you're a one-term candidate, your political career is taking a dive. The chances of you getting back in, even under a different office, is slim to none. You have to expose when they refuse to do what they campaigned on. So if you campaign on, for myself example, election integrity, and then I get in office and I do nothing to help secure elections, I vote against bills that secure elections, etc., I need to be removed. The next election, someone else needs to take my place, and holding my fellow members accountable for what they campaign on is going to be one of my well, I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it, because there's a hell of a lot of them.
Yeah, that accountability is huge. Well, that's wonderful. Do you guys have any, I don't know if you can stay on, or if you have any last words here.
I want to thank you for having me on today. And I can't wait to get back in Florida and start working with Jeff some more on this campaign.
Let me,
Hi, Gabby. How are you?
Good. How are you, Stan? Nice to see you in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a website?
I do. It's GabbyFox4FL.com.
Gabby Fox, for what?
FL, Florida.
See if we can get it up here. Well, let's see. I've got your Instagram up. Hang on a minute. Got Gabby Fox Houston. Let's see. Oh man, I think it's going to take me a minute to find it here.
It's GABBY
Yep.
FOX
Yep.
FORFL.com.
That's why I was putting a number 4 in there.
Oh, gotcha.
There we go. Okay, hang on a minute and we'll go ahead and share that. There's Gabby's website, and beautiful website. Good job on that. And we've got issues and concerns and all kinds of cool stuff. So go check her out, and that would be great. Know who you're voting for, and what's yours, Stan? Stan?
Oh, I think he froze.
I'll see if I can help.
There he is.
Back again.
American
American Substance Abuse Foundation. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter.
Do you have a website? Let's see if I can find it. I think he's freezing up on us here. Yeah. So let's see. He's on BizPedia and such. We'll bring him back on again, and we can talk about more of this, because this is a critically important issue right now. This is what happens when you're live. This is unscripted, and you get what you get. It's real news for real people by real people at the kitchen table. And Jason.
JasonIckes.com. That's spelled ICKES. JASONICKES.
Yeah, I know yours, so that's there. Everybody else can see Jason's, and Jason's my buddy, guys. He's I love Jason. Yeah, Jason's a Green Beret.
Joe Biden, Alyssa Slotkin, and Hillary Scholten's radical agenda must be stopped before it's too late. I'm Jason Ickes. Republicans in Congress have been too weak for too long, and it's time to fight back against Marxist Democrats. But Kevin McCarthy and weak Republicans in Congress have failed us. They promised to stop Biden's radical woke agenda, but instead gave Biden another $4 trillion for far-left programs and then tens of billions more for Ukraine. No more. I'm Jason Ickes, and I'm running for Congress to secure our border, stand up for our freedom, cut our taxes, defend our American greatness, and restore our constitutional republic. Stop the wokeness, stop the pandering, stop caving to China, and stop compromising with Democrats who want to destroy the nation I defended as a Green Beret. That's why I approve this ad and ask for your vote for Congress. Let's take our country back.
There you go. So
nice.
Great
nice,
commercial there. I like the woods there that you're in.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much, Donna. You're amazing.
Oh, I love you to pieces. I think you're just an extraordinary human being, and it's pretty nice that I've actually gotten to know you pretty well. And I really think Jason's the real deal, guys, and just love Jason to pieces. And he served this country with distinction, and he continues to serve. So there are those of us who step forward just for the love of this country and our fellow Americans and our families. You know, this is for God, family, and country. God first, always. And
I'm on the front lines every day in substance abuse, trying to save lives. Save a husband, a son. And you know what? I'm cleaning up the mess due to these open border policies.
Look at what we have here. We've got Jason, Stan, Jeff, and Gabriella. And I'm going to tell you what, when you see people that are willing to step forward,
and I don't get paid for what I do. I do
on their own.
This is my time, on my dime.
Yeah, none of us are getting paid for this. We step forward just because we love this nation. And I'm going to tell you what, you want to help. You can be a digital soldier. You can pass on good information. You can help us educate the people around us, and share the links and share them again and share them again. And don't stop sharing. Don't let them make you be quiet. Don't allow them to make you to capitulate, whether it's unconstitutional mandates, masks, vaccinations, whatever it is that you don't want to do. You are a free American. Get rid of the labels and dare to be an American, taking this nation back and standing with us, because this is an extraordinary group of people. Well, I love y'all. you are welcome to come on anytime you want. You all have my cell phone in the way to get a hold of me. So, if I can be of help, I don't get paid for any of this either. It's all volunteer here on Brandenburg News Network. And so
Thank you, Donna.
if there's
Thank you,
any
Jason.
way that I can
Gabby.
help you, if you need some video produced or you want to take that and push it out to your peeps out there, your faves that can help you, you just go right ahead and do that. And if you want to come on and talk about an issue, I'm all here to help you. So
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Donna.
Welcome.
you,
Well,
Donna.
thanks for joining us today, and you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Stay happy, stay blessed, stay
Thank
healthy.
you, and all you also. I'll be back in just a minute with Karen the Riveter.
Bye for now.
Welcome back to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 29th day of January, and we're in our second hour, actually hour and a half. What a wonderful group of people. Morning, Karen. How you doing?
Well, yeah, you had a cast of people on today already.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I love Jeff Buongiorno. He's a wonderful, wonderful person. And the people that are working on this election integrity crisis that we have going on that are truly, there's a few out there that I'm not really a fan of, but it's like everything else. You have to go into situations and sort through them to find out who's real and who's not. Have that in the said National Assembly, in the Michigan General Assembly. You have it in the Republican Party. You've got it in all of these nonprofits. We are infiltrated. So it takes a little while sometimes to sort through them. Now, Christina Caramo is been officially recognized by the Republican National Committee of being removed in the proper way, though they're kind of gutless and said that, but we're not going to let them or Hoekstra participate in anything because more information might come out. Sounds pretty gutless to me, but that's that go along to get along, stand for nothing party that's going on. All the parties are corrupt. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And I think that it would be great for us to talk about what happened this weekend at the Constitution Party, which is the U.S. Taxpayers Party. We can't change our name just because Benson says she doesn't have to. So she's just decided not to do that. So it creates more confusion by us being the U.S. Taxpayers Party instead of the official Constitution Party affiliate in the state of Michigan. So Karen was there on Saturday, which is wonderful. And I want to just say thank you so much. You are a true friend to me and to this nation. I'm so thankful for all you've done.
Aww.
And it was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I got to meet some people I've seen on the show but haven't met in person. I got to meet some new people and see some people I haven't seen in a while.
Janice Daniels was there, and she's been on the show, and John Tater, of course, and Paul Urban, and Darleaf was there, and Bill Moore, who's on every Wednesday with me. He was there. So and Ralph, the IT guy, was there. So was incognito, but there was a lot of wonderful people there that I just want to take the nation back. But then there was also a couple of infiltrators, and we warned everyone that they would be there because that's what they do. And quite often what they do is exactly what I was expecting them to do, is to step up and try to take over the meeting. They were not on the agenda. I'll say a specific individual was not on the agenda and started pushing his new latest and greatest little whatever it is scheme, because it seems like they go from one issue to the next, whatever they think is going to catch people's attentions, to divide from the core issue, which is get good people on ballot. And that absolutely happened. And I warned everybody that it was going to happen, and it did. And but the rest of, if they know who they are, if you're not guilty of it, you know who you are, and I know who you are too, and I know who they are. So we've been battling in this arena long enough to actually do some background checks on people. There were some people that were attached to a political consultant also, which I thought was fairly interesting, and one that a lot of people would find to be a problem in this state. And if any of these people actually were going to do anything that are sitting in the seats, they would have. It's like voting in Biden. First of all, we didn't, and so there's too much that was rigged there. But if they were going to do something, and somebody's been in office or has been playing around in the political arena, which has turned into an industry to protect itself, they're not going to do anything. Absolutely nothing. They want to protect the power structure. So this is one of those situations where we need to clean house, top to bottom. And if we ever get a chance to truly prosecute them, which I truly believe, because I do believe the good guys are in control, they need to be stripped of their citizenship. Unjust gain needs to be seized, and I think that would be a great thing. Let's do reparations to the people of the United States who have had their wealth stolen by these idiots, these morons, these complicit criminals in the seats, because they've done such damage to Americans. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm kind of committed to that. I think that's a path that we all have to be committed on, is to not only remove them, but see them prosecuted for crimes against humanity, if they're involved in human trafficking, for election rigging, which a lot of them were involved in. You can see what happened here in the state of Michigan fairly clearly when they were fraudulently registering voters, and Nestle passed it right on to the state police, and the state police didn't do anything, said what it looks like. And so who else involved in this? This is a huge organized criminal conspiracy in this state that's going on. I think they should all be stripped of their citizenship, their unjust gain, and be prosecuted for, at the least, fraud, but I think it's more than that. I think it's treason that we have going on, at least investigated. What say you, Karen? What did you think about the weekend? I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really interesting. Your speakers brought out a lot of information, and the business meeting was interesting too, because it's a very different party than a Republican Party, for example, which is my experience. There are a lot of people who are really trying to do something and not quite sure what to do, and when they get together, there's a passion and a dedication there that's a real positive, a real strong positive energy. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because, like even on your show this morning, you've got people who are trying to attack a number of problems in a number of different ways. There's not just one solution to everything. There's not an easy answer. And it's easy to look at all the problems and go, oh, it's just overwhelming. How are we going to solve this? In just the past few days, I kept thinking of this meme that I shared yesterday with the cat and the lion, because there's a lot of people that are like, well, we should do something about that. That's the cat on the left side of the meme. It was fat belly laying up on the couch going, we should do something about that. And what he really means is, y'all go do something about that.
Yeah, fix my problems for me is what it's saying. instead of, no, you got to get in and fix your problems yourself and help us.
But it's hard for people to figure out what they're supposed to do. And that's why I've been saying from the beginning, Karen the Riveter, what is your role to play? You got to find it. And there's no right or wrong role, and roles can change. You know, there are two paths you can go by, but you can change the road you're on. I got that from a song. But anyway.
I'm looking for your meme right now. So on your channel.
That your role to play can change, and it's okay. You have to be willing to realize that, for example, in my case, being a delegate in the GOP was not helping anything because I had no power. I'm supposed to have a voice. I'm supposed to be able to make decisions. But that wasn't happening. I wasn't doing my part well as a delegate either, frankly. You know, honestly, I wasn't going around my township to ask people what they wanted. And where I live, a lot of people wouldn't really care to talk to me anyway. They're too private. But
they
even
keep talking about politics. That's what they'll say. I don't like politics. I don't want to get involved in politics.
Yeah.
But honey, you are paying taxes into the system. You're involved. You are definitely involved in it. So you can sit there and say, I want everybody to like me. When somebody says that, all they're telling me is, I just want everyone to like me. And instead of getting doing, getting down to business, I just want people to like me. That's what it says.
Well, I couldn't even really represent myself because I was given a slate. Here's a slate of people you should vote for. Wait a second. Where's the grassroots part of this?
Mm-hmm.
There's
a meme on Karen's channel. Karen the Riveter on Telegram. Karen the Ultra Riveter, sorry.
Yeah, I changed that a long time ago. It was a Pepe thing, and
I remember
something somebody said about Ultra MAGA. But didn't Biden say Ultra MAGA? And we were all like, yeah, we like that. Let's go with it. So I went ahead and changed the name, and I never changed it back.
Yeah. Here's another one. I think this is funny. Here's another Karen. We'll rip down Karen's channel. Hit her in now. Hit him hard.
Yeah, I had to share that one when I saw it yesterday. I was like, yep, that goes right along with the other one, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, it can be really depressing for the average American who hasn't been taught how to do anything for ourselves. And how are we going to make an impact? We all look at this government situation and we go, first of all, we've been lied to all our lives. It's a corporation. It's not a government, but it's acting as a government, and that's what we have to deal with. So we realize that we've been lied to all our lives about a lot of different things. That in itself is overwhelming. What are we going to do about it? Well, I want to fix the election problem. Number one, right? Besides human trafficking, as she was saying, those two problems should be the top priorities. What are my legislators and commissioners and township board people, what are they doing, those trustees? Nothing on either of those two issues. Well, then what are we supposed to do? Like she was saying, well, the next time you vote them out. Well, no, I want to wait till the next election because they're just going to put somebody else in the place who's going to do the same thing. So we need to talk to our legislators and tell them what we want them to do. Well, they never listened to me the last 10 times I tried to tell them about something. They send me a little letter that's the same thing they send everybody else, and they ignore it.
There's strength in numbers, though. I mean, like you got to get a group of buddies and say, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and keep even, start with your local people and say we're going to start talking to them, and we're going to send letters, and we're going to document, and we're going to tell them which laws they break, because we're going to get educated and we're going to do that. And then when they go to replace themselves with somebody else that's part of this global crime syndicate, which a lot of them are, there should be not one developer sitting on a zoning board or on a township board or a builder They should not be there because they're voting themselves the land. This is just exactly like what China's doing. And we need to get smarter than this and say, oh, this person's a good person in our city. They've done so much to see. Yeah, because they're stealing all your land, making money off it, and then raising your taxes to pay for the infrastructure. And the only way that you can do that is to get a bunch of friends and say, hey, we're holding you accountable. You do not get to vote in the things that directly affect your business. And I've seen it over and over. I saw it in Byron Township. It's been going on here for years. And it's really crazy, but we have to do that.
Right. So then the next step they'll say is, well, we gotta get into the party. We gotta be a delegate. Well, as I learned, that doesn't really help.
No,
So how do you get somebody in an office who's going to do what you want to do if there's no avenue to do that and the election process itself is rigged? That's a key source of frustration for people. And without overhauling the entire system, I don't know how we're going to solve that problem.
You know what it is? Okay, so like no matter what or who runs, whoever runs, vote all incumbents out. Clean the whole system out. You know, that's the first thing that we can do is vote for anybody other than somebody who has held office, because they're all complicit. If they were going to do something, they would have. And so this is like Biden. I'm going to play this clip here because this is actually pretty funny. You think he was going to do anything different? He was in the establishment for 50 years. You cannot re-up somebody who's an incumbent because they're part of an industry. They're not part of we the people. They're the enemies of we the people to keep this industry, this money train, this money laundering, coercion, extortion, changing the rules, crime syndicate going. But this was really interesting. Listen to what Biden says about a sitting president. He acknowledges President Trump as a sitting president.
That American consumers are facing real confidence in their economy we're building. Let me tell you who else is noticing that. Donald Trump. Did you see what he recently said about the West? He wants to see the economy crash this year. The sitting president.
Did you catch that? We're going to play it again. He called him a sitting president in and amongst the incoherent nonsense. Listen to what he says. He calls him a sitting president.
Consumers are facing real confidence in their economy we're building. Let me tell you who else is noticing that. Donald Trump.
The rightful president of the United States, I might add, President Donald J. Trump.
Did you see what he recently said about the West? He wants to see the economy crash this year. A sitting president.
Bam, right there. A sitting president. Let's do it again, boys and girls.
A sitting president.
Did you hear that? To all who are out there who are Americans, I don't care what party you're in, listen.
This year, a sitting president.
Music to our ears. Bam, right there.
So you either go, well, he knows exactly what's going on and he's got it right, or he's an incompetent moron and he doesn't know what's going on. Either way, we win.
Yeah, we win. You know, it's like there he is.
Did you see the one where he's like Great Lakes and everybody cheers?
I saw that too.
He's talking about beer.
It's so funny. I can't.
He cracks me up, man. It just, if you're not, you gotta see this as a clown show sometimes. That's why I found that one, because he's just so funny to me. Here's what I think. I think he doesn't have control, and the people that we've been talking about have control over him don't actually have control either. I think he's going to be stuck there right down the line as long as this election conversation is happening, unless something else big. We have some kind of big event happening. I don't know what that is. As long as we're looking at an election, I think we're looking at a Biden-Trump election, because we have got to see as a people the compare and contrast between what it looks like with a man who is corrupt and incompetent versus a man who represents we the people.
Or at least a man who's playing that. I'm not convinced that this is actually
that's what
Biden.
I've always
Gazelle.
He's not really Biden. I've not believed that for a long time, but for the show, I'll call him Biden. And that's the thing. I see it as a show. And as long as we have to watch the show, we're going to see this actor. They're not going to 25th Amendment him. They're not going to replace him with an illness or a death. That's what I think. I think we're stuck with him on the ballot. No matter what, we're going to be like, what on earth? What's that?
Hard to tell if they pull a Mike Obama out. We'll have to see.
Well, I don't think they will. That's my theory. I don't think they'll put anybody in his place because I don't think they have control. And for a while, I was thinking, well, how can you get rid of a president that wasn't there in the first place? He wasn't really elected, but since they're going to pretend that, how can they remove him? Well, they put him in place. It's all a sham to begin with, so.
Sure is. Well, here's another sham. That's a good segue, actually. Brian Cates. Okay, so Brian Cates is a friend of mine. I love Brian Cates. He's a very nice person. I've heard him take on so many attacks, and I'm going to tell you what, he gave one of the most heartfelt, wonderful speeches at Threadfest that I've ever heard in my life. It was one of the greatest speeches. I will remember it to the day I die.
Even if your voice shakes?
What's that?
Even if your voice shakes?
Yes, you have to. You just stand up and you talk. But it was one of the greatest speeches. I was in tears listening to him talk because it was so genuine. He talked about Andrew Breitbart and, I'm going to call it what it is. They assassinated him. There was no way that he just dropped dead walking across the street. And we all know that the CIA has lots of ways to induce heart attacks. So when you hear of a heart attack or something like that, don't necessarily believe it, guys, especially if it's a political person or plane crashes or anything. I think they said that 7 out of 8 plane crashes are taking people out. And I've heard that statistic before. So, but anyhow, listen to this. He's laughing. This wasn't the U.S. This was the CIA. There you go. They did a deal to help control the flow of drugs into the USA for a cut of the profits. Well, there's how many stories do we have to listen to about them taking in cocaine at the border, saying that they're destroying it, and they only mix like 1% in with flour, and they destroy the flour. They bring it right back across the border and they resell it again because they're all involved. Bush was running drugs on our military planes in Afghanistan. All of this stuff has been out for a long time. If you want to just take a look at it a little bit. And so listen, Cheryl Atkinson says, I never understood why the news didn't trigger international headlines, congressional hearings, and prosecutions of U.S. officials. Prosecutors admit U.S. signed a cooperation agreement with the Sinaloa cartel leader, dismissed a major case against the Sinaloa lawyer Humberto and such. But in court documents, prosecutors do admit the U.S. had a signed cooperation agreement with a different Sinaloa cartel leader. The agreement was with Sinaloa cartel lawyer Humberto Loya Castro, starting as early as 2004. Loya passed information to the DEA from cartel leaders, including Zambada, the new one now on trial. In return, Zambada claims the U.S. dismissed a major case against Loya and agreed to not interfere with the cartel's drug trafficking or actively prosecute their leadership. Of course, because they're involved. This is our country. The deep state in this country has been involved in every international crime that you have ever heard of. It is our deep state that is guilty, and I mean guilty of all of it. That's why they need to be abolished.
Those Mexican cartels is one reason why my answer to will Texas secede is a great big fat no.
Here you go. I think this is hilarious. Texas decorates border fence with evidence of Hunter Biden's crimes to get federal agents to totally ignore it. That's hilarious.
There's one I shared from police frequency last night.
Okay.
Kind of late, so if you're on my channel scrolling up, what's really happening over the border, because we have this vision of Texas denying or turning right back around those people who are coming across through the fence. And that's not what's happening. They're arresting them for trespassing. So if 4 or 5 years they actually come back for the hearing that they schedule them for, they're going to have to deal with the trespass charge. They're not going to come back. Of course, they're not going to come back for that.
They're going to disappear. And see, that's the other thing, is that anyone who came into this nation illegally should never be able to vote, no matter how many years it is, because they came in illegally. And that should be stripped away from them, as you know, and all these people that are dealing with human trafficking, they should be stripped of their citizenship. And, you know, why are we allowing these people to vote again?
They should be stripped more than their human traffickers should be stripped more than their right to vote.
Right, but you know what I mean? It's like there's probably stripped of their life if they've committed treason. You know, let's just go there. So Flynn posted a data scientist info on the J6 pipe bomber back in November 2023, and here's an update. That's General Flynn. What do you think, Fed or no Fed? Do you believe him? Do I even have to ask? Update. The J6 pipe bomber is a government contractor with a background in explosive ordnance disposal. The mobile device accessed DOJ and FBI 1,167 times over an approximate 2-year period, and also the DC Navy Yard over 200 times during the same period. The actual pipe bombs can be used to train dogs. This is important because their cover story, if they were to get caught in the act, would have been that they were hired to test security protocols. Additionally, they were monitoring law enforcement agencies' radio traffic. From Kash Patel last year on the news channel 10616, the J6 DNC pipe bomber, the FBI has video footage of the individual, ID confirmable, and a license plate from surveillance footage that tracked him to Virginia, and not one arrest. Congress subpoena all documents the FBI has on this and see if it doesn't lead to a government confidential human source file. I'm going to tell you right now, they know who he is. There's no two ways about it. When they say they have everything, they have everything. And it's a bunch of nonsense. They try to hide this stuff. So here's another one. I'm going to go ahead and play. Let's see.
I wonder what is your message to Hezbollah and its backer, Iran? Don't come across the border. Don't escalate this war.
Don't.
As President Biden said, just don't.
Exactly. One word. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, not buying
That's
that.
so scary.
Oh, I'm so scared of Kamala. It's like she does nothing.
I did share a post which detailed what Trump's relationship was with these foreign countries. And why didn't we have a war with them? Why didn't we have all of these kinds of problems? Because Trump did more than just sit there and say don't. Yeah. And when he did say don't, because he did a time or two, don't try it. There will be punishments. But he wasn't doing it the way they're doing it. It wasn't like, well, we're going to have a war. Like with China, he was like, well, we're going to have some sanctions and it's going to hurt you. And it did.
China. Okay, so here, this makes my heart glad. I love this. This is so funny. Tell us not to put up razor wire on a container that has Chinese characters on it. Let's just point that out right off the bat. We're just going to get rid of China right here, which is China isn't a geographical location anymore. It's everybody in our nation that's bought into this global crime syndicate. We have no issues with the Chinese people. We do with our deep state that's just been letting them run amok here. China. Biden is China. You've got a bunch of Tommy Robinson things up there. I love Tommy Robinson.
He had a big weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think he does a pretty good job of showing what happens when you have no borders. He gets pretty raw on things. He had a gang rape on there. One day I was looking at his channel because I do watch his channel.
Right, you saw the same thing I saw. Yeah.
I didn't put it out there though. I think it's an important thing for people to be aware of. But he does a really good job of outlining what's happened in
he's a truth teller, and he is raw. His channel will have a lot of raw footage. So I think it's a good one if you want to see, the difference between what's happening in America and what's happening in UK. It's like they're a few steps ahead of us. They're showing us what it would look like here if we don't do something, because their country is really, really suffering now. They have so much violent crime and so much ridiculous crime. There was one he shared just last week, just a few days ago, where this family is looking at an apartment and they're being like, well, this is kind of nice, but it doesn't have a parking place for us. They don't even have a car, and they're turning it down. And they're homeless people, including their veterans, cannot get a place to live. And this place was nice. And these people are illegal immigrants. They have no right to a place to live there. They need to go back where they came from or go through the legal process. They're taking the places that homeless people could potentially have paid for by the government. They're in those places. And it's infuriating people. So what is it going to do? It's going to drive them to violence. Tommy is not all for violence. He's into public protest, and he was playing a video this weekend to teach the public what was going on in their community, and also to protest to the government. We see what's happening and we don't like it.
Well, let's take a look at the Somalian invasion up in Minnesota here, because this is what it absolutely is. Ilhan Omar, listen to what she has to say. This is an invasion. This is not somebody that came here to be Americans. They came here to subvert all of us and to steal what we believe in and instigate the nonsense like, honor killings and Sharia law and all this kind of bullshit out there. The highest law of the land is the Constitution. If you don't like our laws, get the hell out.
Annaga haddii aan nahay dad Soomaali ah, waxaan nahay dad isjecel. Waa laga yaabaa meelaha qaarkood inaan isku xagxagano, laakiin haddii runtii ay imaato waxaan nahay dad isku tashto, dad walaalo ah, dad dhiig lah, dad isku og inay Soomaali yihiin, inay Muslim yihiin.
Somalians first.
Oo iyagana isku hiiliya, dadka walaalahoodna u hiiliya. Markii ayaan dhexdaas markii aan maqalnay in qaar Soomaali ah ama Soomaali sheegato in Ethiopia ay la galeen maba aqaan af Soomaali wixii lagu dhaho.
She's a terrorist.
Heshiis Maxamuud Nuur hadda aniga Soomaaliga badiiso maaha. dad badan ay soo wacay oo waxay leeyihiin Ilhaan dowladda Mareykanka inaan la hadasho waaye, dowladda Mareykanka maxay ka qabanaysaa? Jawaabteedu waxay ahayd dowladda Mareykanka waxay ka qabanaysaa wixii annaga aan dhahno dowladda Mareykanka qabo. Waa kalsoonidaas inaan isku qabno annaga Soomaali haddii aan nahay. Waddankan annaga ku nool, waddankii aan annaga tax ka dhiibno waaye, waa waddankii gabar idinka dhalatayne ee Congress-ka fadhiso. Intii aniga aan Congress joogo, waddanka Soomaaliya biyaheeda dad kaleete iyo badeeda dad kale ma qaadanayaan. Waddanka Mareykankana kuma taageerayo dad kaleete in annaga ayna dhacaan. Marka
sleep in comfort, knowing I'm here to protect the interest of Somalia from within the United States system. She's a terrorist.
She's not American. She makes that very clear.
She's not American, and she makes it very clear that it's Somalia first. That's a direct threat to this nation. That is an invasion. This is what the war looks like right now.
reer Minnesota gabadhii Congress u tirsateen way idinka warhaysaa sidaad idinka u dareemaysiin dantaas ay u dareemeen.
She cared so much about Somalia. Why did she leave? And what, there's my question. It's like only a coward leaves their nation to go somewhere else. Stand and fight, you coward.
Madaxweyne Xasan Sheekhna waxaan leeyahay waan kugu faraxsannahay shaqada fiican aad qabatay in dadka Soomaaliya iyo dadka meel kasta ku nool aad dareensiisay si kasta anaga aan u dhibannahay Soomaali haddii aan nahay waxaan nahay dad karti leh dad wadankooda aqoonsan dad wadankoodi.
People who love our country will then fight for your country. Don't come here and try to invade ours.
aan weligood danger laga gelin karin.
Stealing our land.
Marka waxaan reer Minnesota iyo Soomaalida meel kasta ku nool adeerkaya hadda mar dhow ka hadlaayay idinkaga hambalyeynaya sida aad isku wada duuban tihiin sida aad kulligiin u garab istaagteen madaxweynaheena because uu u baahan yahay in kulligeen aan garab istaagno. Soomaaliya waa Soomaali. Soomaaliya waa hal walaalaan wada nahay dhulkeena lagama kala qaybsanaayo dhulal baa naga maqan raadsanaynaa insha Allah maalinta laakiin inta aan haysano hadda lama kala qaybinaayo marka waa mahadsantihiin dhammaantiin sidaad ii sharaftiin oo markas aad iigu soo dhawaysiin.
I have a big problem with this, guys.
She just violated her oath. Like, how many times over?
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to. To what? This is why we had the original 13th article. Because you cannot serve two masters. You are either serving America or you're serving somebody else. And she's clearly serving somebody else. She is not serving America. That's a violation of her oath. She needs to be immediately removed from office.
Immediately removed, just like all the people that are in Congress who have dual citizenship with Israel. They should not be there. You should not be able to hold a dual citizenship card if you're either serving America or you're not. There's no two ways about it. What say?
Well, I'm in agreement with you. So I didn't say anything. I agree.
Let's take a look at her little traitorous face. So let's go down and take a look at something that General Flynn said. I love General Flynn. So here we go. Totally agree. Tucker says, effing lunatics. Lindsey Graham says, hit Iran now, hit them hard. Target Tehran. I'm sitting here looking at this going, all these people want to do is just start more wars and more fighting. And they do not have, as General Flynn and Tucker Carlson are saying, is that they just want to kill people. This is what this is all about. There are always better ways to deal with it. We can't even
profit. What they want.
What's that?
They want profit.
They want profit. Yep. So with that said, let me see if I can find a happy moment. We'll end the broadcast today. Oh, here we go. Turkey Nikki, let's do this. This is something we can all laugh about.
And we will get them. But I will not now, not ever, support raising the gas tax. Finally, let's increase the gas tax by 10 cents over the next 3 years. I would not run if President Trump ran. I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president. Every person on social media should be verified by their name. I never said government should go and require anyone's names, but what we do know is 65 is way too low, and we need to increase that.
For claiming the retirement age is, quote, way, way too low.
I have never once said that. I never said Hillary Clinton was an inspiration. I went with my friend Eleanor Kitzman to a firm and leadership program where Hillary Clinton was speaking. And I walked out of there and I said, "Run for office."
There you go. And who is it's like the rightful president of the United States. Isn't it amazing how no one is out there talking about righting the crimes that were committed in the election of 2020 and 2022? They're just like, we're just going to skate right past this thing. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to let the crimes be committed because they don't care. And so unfortunately, the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, who is a representative of we the people, is still fighting for us. He's still out there. We're still attacking him. He's still fighting it for us. And he's still the commander in chief in your faces. I love it. So, and we're still seeing a contrast between those who are okay with breaking the law and not keeping their promises and those who hate this nation.
Yeah. I think we're going to see more and more and more of that. And the more I see it, the more I got a smile on my face, because there's so many people who, like, they would just watch those videos with Nikki and go, oh, well, they're trying to say that she lied and she just said she didn't lie. Well, they're not looking it up. They're not verifying. Like somebody said earlier about, you have to do some research and not just look at, well, who's got the most yard signs or who has the best marketing campaign. You have to look a little bit deeper, where the money's coming from, and you got to do a little bit of digging and not just go with what you hear on the surface. Yeah. And if you do that, you're going to know that she was lying. Like he pointed out, look how easy it was to discern that she was lying when you see the footage. It's there.
I'm going to stop camera a minute, but can you continue to talk for just a minute? And I'd like to get into this whole thing with Destry Payne again, because there was more and more that have come out, but I'll be right back. Would you like to recap what has happened?
Recap. Okay, so that's the point that Donna leaves me to. Okay, so last week a recording came out. Donna shared it on her Telegram channel with a man named Destry Payne, speaking about she and General Flynn being connected to pedophilia and causing problems in Michigan and other states. She then took the time to go on her channel, share that, and rebut it, and then spoke about it on the show to rebut any such things, that she was not, in fact, afraid of Destry Payne. And obviously, she will rebut the concept of being connected to pedophilia, hiding or supporting pedophilia in any way. And myself and another witness she was an anonymous woman who came on the show and spoke regarding the Sterling Heights event that General Flynn put on through americasfuture.net, and very clearly fighting against pedophilia and rebutting those claims that Destry made. So there's your recap, Donna.
Yes, and it sounds like this has been wonderfully passed around because we need to get the truth out there. There are so many infiltrators in these organizations that claim to be something, and we've got all the proof to this. Really? Why don't you just put it out there, Mr. Smart Guy, and so that everybody can see what proof you have, because you don't have any proof. There's no proof out there. They go from he said, she said, this person said, that person says. Well, you better be darn sure about making a claim like that. But the thing that really got me with this call was the people in there that have their cult of personality thing going on, that instead of wanting to know the truth, just jumped right on and decided that that's right. They're all a bunch of pedophiles. And I'm like, this is the nuttiest thing that, you know, we played the, if you want to go back and listen to it, we went through this on Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, Friday. We went through this on Friday, and you can hear this, because this is where the critical thinking really needs to start, is we have to look into things a little deeper. And this gives me a segue to something else I wanted to put out there, that the nonsense going with E. Jean Carroll. And this woman is she's a real piece of work. When you read her texts and things she fantasizes about and all this nonsense. And I think this is kind of funny, because the jury awarded her 83 million in this sham indictment, this sham case against President Trump. I'm pretty sure he's going to get 83 million more votes than he did even the last one. This is going to be
Isn't that ironic?
Yeah, this is going to be amazing. I want to show everybody his attorney, because there is so much conflict of interest going on here in this trial, and this is what we're seeing all over this nation. As in, like I said, at a local level, if you've got developers on your local boards and the board of trustees or the planning commission or the council, you've got a conflict of interest, and they should dismiss themselves immediately. Well, here's the new poster child for conflict of interest. This is in this E. Jean Carroll nonsense. I'm sorry, she can't even remember when it happened. I would think that if you had a traumatic event like that, you would remember the day, the time, the minute, and, you know, what you were wearing, you know, do you know what I mean? It's like none of this is checking out for me at all. It's right. This is nonsense.
There was another one that I saw this. I shared this over the weekend at some point, that she apparently had claimed a lot of other people in her life, or she had some kind of interaction with, had raped her. So she's made this claim many times. The
whole world wants her, don't they?
Sounds really. It sounds
clearly the whole world is obsessed with this woman. So here we go. Let's listen into President Trump's attorney.
A violation of our justice system, ladies and gentlemen. You are not allowed to be stripped of every defense that you have. You are not allowed to be told that you can't bring it up. And imagine a point where a judge tells the lawyer, before your client, the former president of the United States, the leading candidate and obvious nominee for the Republican Party, before he takes the stand to defend himself, Ms. Haba, tell me the questions you're going to ask in open court, and tell me exactly what he's going to respond. And then edited my questions, edited the response he was allowed to give. And guess what my client did? He took the stand. He abided by the rules of this corrupt system that I've seen. We will immediately appeal. We will set aside that ridiculous jury. And I just want to remind you all of one thing. I will continue with President Trump to fight for everybody's First Amendment right to speak. Everybody's a right to defend themselves when they are wrongfully accused, and to be able to say, I didn't do it. And to double and triple and quadruple down and say, this is wrong. This is wrong. But we are in the state of New York. We are in a New York jury, and that is why we are seeing these witch hunts, these hoaxes, as he calls them. And this is another one of them. Be brought in New York, in states where they know they will get juries like this.
And not only that, the conflict of interest here, let me go back up here a minute, guys. And the conflict of interest between E. Jean Carroll's lawyer and the judge presiding over a defamation case against the former president, the rightful president of the United States, honestly, and the basis of their appeal seeking to toss an eye-popping 83.3 million jury verdict. The Post has learned the Trump lawyer, Alina Haba, has said she was unaware Manhattan federal judge Lewis Kaplan and Carroll's lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, kind of a strange coincidence that they've got the same last name. I think we need to dig into that a little bit. Worked together in the early 90s at the same powerhouse white shoe law firm until Saturday when asked about it by the Post columnist Charles Gasparino, who was told by a source that the judge was once Kaplan's mentor. All right, let's take a look at this a minute, guys, because I think this is fairly significant. Hang on. Coming up by the New York Post is kind of interesting to me. This is insane. Absolute insanity.
This is just, this is, when I shared it, I said, this is an example of why we should not get an immediate emotional response to something that we hear, because people could have heard the news that Trump lost this case and have an immediate reaction for or against him. And I think in the long run, we're going to see that he will win out. And what is he doing? He's teaching us again. Do you think that he's really concerned about having to pay this woman? I don't think he's really concerned about it, because I think he knows that he's going to win in the end. You have to be a little patient and watch how things play out. But what are you learning in the process? Because that's what he's teaching us. Mm-hmm. What kind of things can you learn from this case? What should you be looking for in your local community? Is this kind of thing happening elsewhere?
Well, and look at New York changed laws to enable E. Jean Carroll to sue President Trump. And she admits she helped Democrats pass the law so they could get President Trump. Now, with these kind of things, I mean, doesn't anybody out there, just because a woman shouts rape, how many times have we learned that, I'm sorry, there is much of a problem. It is a problem, just like women who are truly raped. It's a big problem, right? But it's equally a problem when somebody just starts screaming rape in order to go after people. We know this is happening. How do you stop it? By making somebody who claims rape, if it is proven to be false, they need to serve the crime. And so then let's think about this. This is another part of it. Nikki Haley's top mega donor funded E. Jean Carroll's lawsuit against President Trump. Let that sink in.
I want to make another point. So these facts that are coming out just this weekend since the ruling, they were facts all along. They were facts that people knew about. Why are they coming out after the ruling rather than before? And my answer to that is timing is everything.
Right. Look at DeWitt. Look at Carrie Lake with DeWitt.
Yep.
Why I heard that this is 9 months after this happened. Why all of a sudden right now? I've got some questions about all of this. I just really do. It's like the whole thing to me is just like kind of like perplexing. Why wouldn't you come out with this stuff right away? And I don't have an answer for it. I just don't. But how much damage has he done in 9 months instead of addressing the problem immediately? Bring it to the and I don't understand this. I don't understand this. If you know something, see something, say something, get it out there, shout, get loud, and don't stop. I don't get it. I don't get it. You got any insight for me, Karen?
Well, another compare and contrast. People are comparing you to Carrie Lake sometimes, and here's a contrast for you. Donna doesn't play that game.
No. If something comes right out,
come on, let's end this right now. Come on, military. And I'm thinking the military's like, Donna, you got to be patient. Timing is everything.
Yeah, and Donna's like, no. It's like, all right, let's just deal with this. This is enough of this nonsense. It's time to just pull up our big girl and big boy panties and let's just handle it. It's not going to go away until we actually face this and handle this. And that goes not just for the military or everybody else. It goes for every single person out there in the United States of America. How much more of this are you willing to take? I'm not willing to take any more of this, quite honestly. And it's time for us to call out what it is and get in the game. Vote them all out, every single one of them. The clerks, the township trustees and such. Vote them all out. Vote in somebody that's not even remotely, that has never had one little finger interaction in the system. If they have touched anything with a little finger, out they go. Get somebody else in and you run for office. If you don't know what you're doing, that's okay. At least you're not criminally complicit in taking down the United States of America. You'll learn real fast. But, just stand on truth and vote them all out, top to bottom, clean house. And we start, it's just like with the Taxpayers Party. We don't have to take all the seats. We're a disruptor. All we got to do is if we would have gotten one honest governor in, I accept, because this would have been done in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, we would have had so much stuff done. It would have been unbelievable. First thing, pause all taxes. They're unconstitutional the way that they're standing. There is very, very few things in our tax structure which is actually constitutional. Once you start returning the power and the money to the people and defund this nonsense, guess what? It gets real quick. And the power does go back to we the people. But even if we had people in Senate races or, the House races or whatever it is, that we're not part of the uniparty madness where they're selecting. It's a selection. If we just disrupted a few of them, you'd be shocked at how much work could be done. And no, we don't want to split the vote. Split the vote of what? What are you splitting? They're all in bed together. The only way anybody makes it in there to sit in one of these seats is because they're complicit. And, I hate to be the one to say it, but I got some questions about Hoekstra. I would like to believe that he's turned a new leaf. I would like to believe that.
But he got a complete and total endorsement by President Trump.
All right, guys. That should be your first clue right there. I love President Trump, the greatest president in the history of the United States. Hands down, and the rightful president of the United States. Commander-in-Chief currently, and that's all I have to say, right? We could go into that in larger detail and present lots and lots of evidence there. But President Trump's endorsements in the state of Michigan have all been bad and sucked. It was just a matter of time before we saw what was really going on. President Trump likes to expose. If he's pointing to someone, pretty extra sure he's saying, hey guys, go look into this guy. So let's see what's going on here. It's not necessarily, I think he's teaching us to think. Yeah. And when you've got somebody that's been behind the Patriot Act, I had somebody else tell me that they thought that he might have met with Julian Assange at some point in time. Can't confirm or deny that. But if that's the case, we better be asking a lot of questions. Because there may be more there. But what's this with the Patriot Act? And then re-upping it. didn't even get past the panic. We had to go back into it and re-up the Patriot Act again. Unconstitutional surveillance and quartering troops.
I was just thinking about that. So back in the revolution, you were talking about how long do we have to wait? And my answer to that has been repeatedly, how long will the evils be sufferable? Mm-hmm. And that's where I had that Substack about the Declaration before the Independence Declaration. So we had 10 years prior, there was a declaration where they basically begged England, the King of England, the Parliament. I always forget the third. They wrote 3 letters with this declaration. It was, please stop doing what you're doing. We want representation. We want our own juries. The same kind of complaints that they had in the Declaration of Independence, they were complaining about 10 years prior. They were asking very, very politely the first time. But it took them another 10 years to put their foot down and defend themselves. One of the complaints that they had was they were having to deal with these foreign troops in their own homes. They were coming in their own homes and they would steal their food just before winter. So they were going to be starving in the winter. That's how personal it got. how would it make you feel if there was someone from the Chinese military, we'll put it that way, invading your home and saying, "Oh, you gotta get out of your bed. You take the couch. I'm sleeping over tonight, and feed me breakfast in the morning. I want eggs and bacon." That would not go over very well.
But
they're already doing it. They're taking our children. Are the evils sufferable? I mean, it's beyond to me, but a lot of people are not quite there yet. Their level of awareness, their learning is a little behind you and I, and somehow we have to break through that matrix that's been blinding and deafening them. And that's why I'm saying, like what I said about Biden, we have to have this compare and contrast so that they can break through there, understand what's going on, and suddenly the evils will no longer be sufferable for them. We've got to have enough Americans who understand this before we can make a big change, because it's going to be a big, it's a paradigm shift we're talking about, and they have to be able to accept it. That's how I feel about it.
Well, and there you go. So I think this is significant. We've been talking about Tron, and some of the parallels that we're seeing between Tron, because you know that a lot of times they tell us what's happening. You look at V for Vendetta and some of the other ones that are out there, what's actually happening in our country. And I thought this was interesting because the main character in Tron is Flynn. It's Kevin Flynn and his son Sam, and I thought that was really interesting. The I don't know, the coincidences. No, there's no coincidences there. And I would encourage everyone to watch the Tron movies again, because I think that there's some very interesting things in the Tron movies. And just watch it, and with a lens of what's going on today. I can tell you right now that General Flynn is the people's general. I absolutely love this man. I love his family as a patriot, as a brother. He has done so much for this nation, and make no mistake, he put his life on the line for this nation. And I just want to say thank you to General Flynn, to Admiral Rogers, to President Trump, to all the brave patriots out there who have stepped out because of the love of God, family, and country. And when you watch them and how vehemently and savagely they've been attacked, you better figure it out that they're over the target. That's why they're attacked so unrelentingly, because, you know, of course we can't have good people that are out in public speaking or in elected positions or in positions anywhere of power, because that's the threat to this global crime syndicate. And make no mistake, General Flynn is a huge threat to this global crime syndicate, because guess what? He knows where the bodies are buried. And pretty extra sure that, and I said that in the meeting the other day, you want to piss me off, go after General Flynn, because somebody going after General Flynn is either stupid or they don't know what's really going on, and you should study a little.
Or they're a part of it. They're a part of it.
Or they're a part of it. Study, figure out what's going on, and you'll get it figured out. General Flynn, he's had spook. He knows how to get things done. And that's not going to be jumping in front of the camera at the New York Compost or one of those publications. He is going to get in there and get the job done, and it's not going to be through headlines. It's going to be through action. So there you go. There's my shout out to General Flynn, because we were both attacked by Destry Payne and called pedophiles and a pedophile network. And you can shove it, anybody that wants to say that, because he is fighting for to end the child trafficking and bring awareness to it. He gets out there and he brings awareness to stuff and tries to help people get educated. So there you go. With that said, let's go ahead and end this for the day. It's been 2.5 hours for Donna sitting here. It was a great show today. And I want to thank everybody, Jeff and Gabriella and Stan and Jason Ickes and all of them that are fighting for this nation. They're really good people. And I really appreciate all of them coming on and willing to do something. None of them are getting paid for this. And so they're all doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. And none of us do here. This is a volunteer situation. And it's because we're here to do our civic duty, which is to try to help this nation in any way we can. So let's say prayer a minute, and then we're going to move on to our day. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very, very much for the wonderful opportunities to serve you and be a part of this wonderful redemption that you have planned for this world. We got ourselves in trouble. It's our fault. We let things go. And we're thankful that you didn't turn your back on us. And all we have to do is say, hey, Papa, we need some help here. We've screwed things up massively and don't quite know exactly how to attack it. But you know how to attack and help every single problem in this life, either the ones that we created or the ones that are just are a result of a sinful world. We thank you so very much for calling us back to you, for opening your arms, for always welcoming us back in no matter what, and that you don't expect us to be perfect. You expect us just to have a relationship with you and accept your gift of salvation that you paid a heavy price for. And we're so thankful for your only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, who gave up his life for us. You were the only one that could pay the penalty, and we're thankful for that, and we accept your gift. We want to be your friend. We want to do what it is that you call us here. It's your world. We're willing to play by your rules. You tell us what to do, and we're willing to do whatever it is that you ask without any conditions. We're not looking for something back. We're not looking for anything other than to serve this world in truth, in honesty, with integrity. And we want to make you proud of what we do as best we can, even though we're going to fail sometimes. We want to do things to make you happy, that you feel proud of us, that, that you're happy, that, that we're your children. And I don't know, you're just such a good friend to us and a wonderful father. We love you so very much. And we want to bless you this day. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. There you go. So here we go, guys. Go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com because I'm the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded in the history of the United States. I'm gonna throw that out there as some shade to President Trump and a challenge. And hopefully someday, maybe someday he'll talk to me. Who knows? But at any rate, just want everybody to know that you're very much loved. We care about you. We are never going to stop fighting, and we want you to join us. We can't do it alone. We're going to have to stand together as one family, and with no back down, with no back down, no fear, nothing. We're gonna do this. And Karen, the Riveter, let's see, I'll put her right here. And Karen agrees. So there we go. I got a new. We actually, my son actually gave Karen the original statues, and now I just got this new one fresh off the press. It's even got the plastic.
The original Ultra.
Yes, you have the original Ultra, but now you have heart hands. There you go. There's Karen the Riveter with her heart hands, so I'm not the only one. So at any rate, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. It's a choice. It starts here and here. Don't let anybody tear you down. Don't let them make you afraid. Things are okay. It's all in God's hands, and God wins every time. All we got to do is turn to him, ask him for help, and he is there with us. Well, he's here all the time. I mean, you can't get away from him. In the dark or in the light, it doesn't matter. He's always with you. Just talk to him, reach out to him, and he will help you in any situation. He loves you. He created you. He knows everything you've ever thought or done, are going to do. He already knows. So you might as well just come clean with him and tell him the things that are on your heart, both good and bad. And he's amazing. So have a great day. Make it so. And I'll see you tomorrow with John Tater and Courtney Turner. And the next day it'll be with Bill Moore talking about the Constitution Party and what went on this weekend. It was really amazing. Karen was there. And what was really amazing is we had about 100 people crammed in there. We're going to have to find a bigger venue next time because I'm pretty sure we're going to grow. We're going to continue to grow. And that was as many as the Republicans got to vote in the new chair and to get rid of the old one. So don't underestimate the U.S. Taxpayers Party, the Constitution Party in the state of Michigan, because the other ones are dying. They're absolutely dying. They're being exposed for what they are, and they are dying. So come and help us, because we're not about money. We're about raw effort, taking us back, and we don't have to take it all, just enough to disrupt the uniparty. So have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.